I was born, it used to be Eastern Poland. I was born in 1927. I lost most of my family in the Holocaust, the biggest crime committed in the history of the world. World War II started in September of '39. And then the Russians took over half of Poland. They had to deal with the Nazis. The Russians occupied our town till 1941. They took everything away from us. They took away our house. They took away everything we had. My father decided the children had a better chance to escape. So he sent away me and my younger brother, and we ran away to Hungary. I was 14 and a half and he was 12. It took us about 6 nights to get there. He gave us instructions what to do in Hungary. He gave us a few gold chains that they saved, that to convert it to money, not to go around begging. He told me, which I always remember and always teach other people, the only thing they cannot take away from you is what you have in your head unless they kill you. And he and my mother and my older brother, they stayed, and they ran away 2 months later and they got caught in Hungary. They sent my family back to Poland and that's where they killed them.
That servant
that don't obey his Lord
shall be beaten with many stripes.
By secret paths and waterways, Tubman did lead dozens of slaves to freedom. But her experience also made her a valuable military asset.
Oh boy, how you feel now?
In the pecking order, social pecking order, it had pretty much been that black people were viewed as somewhat well down the line. I've had a long love affair with the black community, starting when I was 10 years old. On Sunday nights, when my parents thought I was asleep, I turned on my radio and I listened to the Reverend C.L. Franklin, who was one of the great preachers of Detroit, of America, and the soloist in the choir of his church, Aretha Franklin. And I memorized his sermons. Then in 1963, my father went to Washington to march with Dr. King, along with a group of black clergymen who invited him to come. He came back to Detroit, changed, inspired. When the bombing of the church in Alabama took place and those 4 little girls were killed, he spoke out to the media and his life was threatened and our home was under police protection. And I knew that somehow I had to be part of that great involvement in the future of our world. Because we may have come over here on different ships, but we're in the same boat now. And it was clear to me from an early age that Jews and blacks were bound together, not only by history, but by peoplehood. And that unless we reached out our hands to one another in friendship, neither of us had a future in America.
Political advisor, personal lawyer, and draft speechwriter for the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Those of us who were close to him, we knew what an extraordinary person he was. But if you look back and look at it clinically and objectively, the overwhelming majority of the country, particularly the overwhelming majority of white people, they knew about this 35-year-old preacher, but they really didn't know that much about him. That all changed on August 28th. It occurred in the capital of the government of the United States, Washington, D.C. 2, it was at the foot of the Lincoln Memorial, the president who had emancipated the slaves. 3, it was, as of that date, the largest single gathering of human beings in one place at one time for any place ever. But the March on Washington consisted of a coalition of labor unions. You had Father Eugene Dalberg, Chancellor of the University of Notre Dame. You had Archbishop O'Boyle, the Catholic Archbishop in the diocese in Washington, D.C. You had Rabbi Joachim Prinz, the president of the American Jewish Congress. And something that historians and few people who look back on the march ever talk about. But I am convinced that it had, what I'm going to tell you, had a profound effect on Martin Luther King Jr. I think it affected how he spoke. And that was the speaker who immediately preceded him, before he was introduced, was Rabbi Joachim Prinz of the American Jewish Congress. And among the things that he said in his speech, and I'm paraphrasing now, he says, when I was a rabbi in Germany under the Hitler regime, I remember many bad things. I remember bigotry and hatred. But those were not the worst things that I remember. The thing that I remember that was far worse than bigotry and hatred was the silence of the good people. I was watching Dr. King from the rear and see that he was taking notes. I don't know whether he was taking notes about what he was going to say, but knowing the Martin King that I know, that when Rabbi Prinz said that, and not many books are written about what I'm also going to say to you, the success of the American Civil Rights Movement under the leadership of Dr. King was inextricably tied to and a result of the active participation of the American Jewish community. I can say without fear of contradiction, the American Civil Rights Movement would not have been successful without the 24/7 participation of the American Jewish community.
I am so honored to be sitting here with Dr. Clarence B. Jones and Dr. Anderson. This is just unbelievable. It's a historical moment, and I'm honored because I'm working so hard to build bridges and create unity and spill the honey and really build compassion in the world and work on building alliances between communities. And Dr. Jones and I have been working very hard on building the coalition, rebuilding the coalition between the African American and Jewish alliances that were so important during the Civil Rights Movement.
What would you give to something you love so dear, who's valued at more than a mere mention of its time on earth? What could you build for each day you looked at it and all its perfect fit? A gate to the great Holy Land you would rejoice upon. Every mountain you would shout out to. Every shining sea you would bow down to. God and His glory forever. Now there it stands with all of its splendor, so all hearts remember that it's a symbol of hope. We will teach our children freedom, show how we need them to carry the torch of our lives. We can rejoice upon every mountain. We can shout out to every shining sea. Lift up our heads to God and His glory.